We'll go ahead and get started with the February 1st meeting of the Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission. First order of business is a roll call. Brenda, could you take roll?
Commissioner Sinclair?
We received an email that he would not be attending today's meeting due to a conflict.
Commissioners Groom?
Here.
Commissioner Moulton?
Here.
Commissioner Stoltz?
Here.
Commissioner Banks?
Here.
Vice Chairman Durberry?
Here.
Chairman Sturdivant?
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody who can, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is public business from the floor. This is the time for citizens who would like to address the Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission on any agendized item. Please complete a speaker card and identify the agenda item you would like to address. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Brenda, do we have any speakers?
No, sir, we have no speakers at this time.
Okay. I'm sorry, I skipped an item. Commissioner Grooms, would you like to give the invocation? Sure. Okay.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity to come together to work to try to improve the conditions of life in our city. We ask that you look over us and guide us in these deliberations today and as we carry on into the future. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Okay, the next item of business is the consent calendar. It includes only the item of the approval of the Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission meeting minutes of January 4th, 2011. Have commissioners had an opportunity to review this? Could I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
And, okay. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Stoltz and a second by Commissioner Moulton. Please vote. Okay, the vote carries 5-0 with Commissioner Grooms abstaining and Commissioner Sinclair being absent. Okay, the next order of business is new business. I received a notice that the consultant's report that was scheduled to be heard both last month and this month is not available at the present time. Elizabeth, I don't know if it's fair to ask you if you know the reason for the additional delay?
I think that it wasn't ready. I don't know why they kept saying it was ready and it was ready, because it hasn't been ready.
Oh,
so
okay.
They're working on issues on it to be absolutely correct.
Okay.
So I believe they're going to be finished this week at the end of the week.
Okay, in the absence of any information from city staff, we're going to go ahead and schedule that for our next meeting.
Why don't you wait and let me find out, because we just keep rescheduling it without actually talking to the consultant and finding out when it's going to be ready.
I see.
So we'll talk to the consultant and find out for sure.
Okay. If it is going to be a delay of beyond the next meeting, can we be notified right away?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Would it be appropriate to ask the consultant to come to the next, if it's going to be delayed beyond the next meeting?
Well, this
to
is
come and
our
explain why?
consultant. This is our consultant that we're paying,
Right.
and he's listening to input from staff, and he's listening to some input and doing some investigation. So his not being on time is not his lack of doing what he is supposed to be doing. It just somehow got jumped. He wasn't quite prepared when it started coming out. So we need to give him the opportunity to do the report that we've asked him to do.
Okay.
It's not him.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. We do have. Next item is the item number 2, Los Angeles Community Development Commission presentation concerning communication with HUD about the ability to suspend voucher payment assistance for issues involving truancy and recommendations of the commission to staff. I believe we have Emilio Salas, who's the Acting Assistant Executive Director of Los Angeles Community Development Commission, to address this issue. Hey, welcome.
Good evening. We did take a look at the request from the Commission in reference to this issue. We did have outside counsel review just the whole question of whether or not it was permissible to even consider terminating someone's assistance for a truancy issue. And the outside counsel, as well as the internal reviews from our administrative staff, have determined that this is not an allowable infraction under the HUD regulations, under the CFR. Nor is it something that the Housing Authority would be interested in pursuing with HUD. But we did check, and we checked the Code of Federal Regulations. We checked with the attorney who actually handles nothing but Housing Authority matters and is well versed in the CFRs.
Okay, questions or comments of the commission?
You said that it would not be something that you would be interested in pursuing with HUD, is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you tell us why?
We're not sure how we can actually enforce anything like that. And then we're delving into an entirely new realm. Our mission is to provide housing assistance through the Section 8 program, and this certainly goes into another realm when you start talking about enforceability and how you would address such an issue. We certainly don't think that it's not an important issue. It certainly is. And on the public housing side, we work very closely with the families that live in our public housing, even on issues such as truancy. But in reference to the Housing Choice Voucher Program and how we would even go about enforcing something like this, we believe it would divert resources away from our core mission.
What are some of the things that you do enforce?
We enforce housing quality standards, administrative compliance, such as ensuring that people turn in their reexamination packets, that they provide income information, that they provide accurate and truthful information. And also, there is a limited scope of criminal activity which HUD has outlined that is enforceable, that you can terminate assistance for.
So you do have a certain amount of things that you are responsible to enforce?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But this seems to be something that you don't believe you could enforce?
I don't believe we could enforce something like this effectively, and I think there are other avenues that can be pursued, such as I'm sure that many of the school districts have attendance review boards that deal with truancy issues and work very closely with families, and probation department as well when they get referred by the court for extreme cases. And I think in many of the jurisdictions that we've worked with on the public housing side, those SARBs, as they're known, have been very effective in addressing that issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Okay,
Give me one second. But besides enforceability, you said that it's not something that HUD would even consider. Why is that? Is there a specific regulation against bringing a proposal like this, or?
There is nothing that outlines an exhaustive list of things that you can terminate assistance for or not. They do provide guidelines which have to do with the administration of the program, as I mentioned before. And then there are very specific crimes for which they say is something that you cannot allow entry into the program or that you can terminate assistance for. Then there's also the issue of housing quality standards. So those are the three things that we use to make sure that we have compliance with the program. This issue, it doesn't specifically cite you cannot terminate for this specific issue, but it does not give us the authority to go to that far-reaching effort to terminate assistance.
A suggestion I might make on this with the committee, of Commissioner Stoltz, Commissioner Moulton, and Commissioner Grooms is there is no specific prohibition of this issue with HUD. And I believe since we've kind of spearheaded this issue coming to the fore, perhaps we should be pursuing with HUD the permissibility of including an item in an admin plan. I think we need to first find out factually, can it or can it not be done, and contact with the local Los Angeles office. If they're not able to answer that question, they could refer us to someone in Washington who would be able to answer that question?
That is correct.
Okay, because
They should be able to provide you with an answer to that
it
question.
feels like we're at a starting point. There's an issue of truancy. We want to see if anything can be done from the voucher side of that. And is there a particular contact in the Los Angeles office that you could recommend that we contact?
The head of that, of the LA office is KJ Brockington.
Okay, Brett.
And that is a person I recommend to be contacted. As I've stated, our review indicates that we do not have authority to implement such a policy, and perhaps they could confirm that.
Okay. Commissioners on the subcommittee, does that sound like a good idea, an independent research of that by our own subcommittee? Okay.
If I may ask a question, just has there been a determination or identification of problems with truancy relative to Section 8 families?
Has there, I'm sorry, say that again.
Has there been an identified problem in reference to truancy and Section 8 families that has prompted this issue?
Let's see, not that I'm aware of. Unfortunately, that was brought to us by some folks that aren't in the attendance at this meeting.
Oh, okay.
We might be able to address that at the next meeting.
Okay.
We hope not.
Same here. Same here.
Okay, any other comments, concerns? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the update report from the LNVC subcommittee concerning possible development of state legislation pertaining to suspending voucher payment assistance for issues involving truancy, and report back to the commission. I understand due to a severe ankle injury, one of the members of the subcommittee was unavailable, so I understand this is going to be postponed for 1 month. Okay. Okay, next item is the update report from the voucher subcommittee concerning the voucher program and recommendations of the commission's staff. Our subcommittee met through email during the past month, and I've passed out to you, I'll say, a draft of some reasons why we have been supporting the creation of a City of Lancaster Housing Authority. We want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding as to the motives of this commission. And I'd like to go through these item by item and ask that we vote after each item as to whether we agree or disagree with the reasons that I'm going to be identifying.
Since this was not put up as a vote, actually an item that we're discussing in the meeting, I don't think that you can take that action to vote on all of these. It will have to go on the next council, the next meeting.
I think he just means
I-
informal vote.
I'm not sure I agree with that because I've been very careful on the agenda to put in recommendations of the commission, and out of this,
That's different than voting if you want to have a discussion and everybody kind of concurs on a recommendation. You did not specify that you were going to.
oh, on this very specific topic?
Right, you're going to.
Okay.
You're going to discuss all of
Okay.
it. You cannot vote on all of these items. You can have a discussion.
Okay.
And you can all have a consensus, but you can't vote. If you want to vote next time, then we can put it into the proper format for voting.
Okay. All right. All right. starting with item number one. Item number one reads, the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority can establish local preferences for participation in the voucher program that are consistent with HUD requirements. Lancaster residents on the waiting list are currently subject to LA County Housing Authority preferences. I believe this is one of the reasons we seek a local housing authority. We would have some, not absolute, but some degree of flexibility in determining the local preferences for participation in the voucher program. And I'm hoping I have support of this commission on that topic. Okay. Any discussion, comment? Okay. Second item is the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority can enhance the ability of local residents on the voucher waiting list to receive assistance by choosing not to absorb port-in tenants from other jurisdictions. Up until May 2010, LACDC was absorbing port-in tenants from other jurisdictions, thereby increasing the length of time local residents remained on the waiting list. I'm going to assume if there is silence, silence is equal to agreement.
Can I say one thing here that might
Sure.
be something for the next one is we do not have a local housing authority.
Mm-hmm.
So one of your actions would be to take an action to create a Lancaster Public Housing Authority.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, because you can't do any of these without doing that first step.
Right.
So your recommendation and what you would vote on would be that
Yeah.
for the next, not all the items.
Okay. Item number 3 is the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority can determine how much effort to place in enforcement of program requirements. Currently, this effort is subject to LA County Housing Authority determination.
Now, Tim, with that, there's a minimum standard that has to be met, correct? So you're saying above and beyond that minimum standard, there are other things that can be?
Yeah, I think a local housing authority would have some degree of flexibility, depending on its other uses of the administrative fee, to determine whether to leave it the same as LACDC does, or enhance it should there be funding available to do so. Okay. Item number 4, the City of Lancaster can cease paying $25,000 a year of city general funds to the LA County Housing Authority for enforcement activities, as the administrative fee the City of Lancaster will earn from the voucher program will provide for this activity. Okay, again, silence is agreement.
Help with that.
Okay.
Give us a little explanation about the 25,000. What is that?
Okay, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong about this, Elizabeth, the City of Lancaster is currently contributing $25,000 to LACDC for enforcement activities.
And Los Angeles County is matching that with an additional $25,000.
Right.
And that is to pay for an investigator. One thing is that the money that is received by LA County, and correct me if I'm wrong, is not for investigation. It's for the administration of the program. The investigation funds that they spend, I believe, come out of their budget. So that would be something we'd have to really discuss. There's some complexities with the way the funding is for investigation.
Yeah. But with the creation of a City of Lancaster Housing Authority, I believe, I can't prove that conclusively, but I do believe the need for the city to contribute to the City of Lancaster Housing Authority would be eliminated.
We just wouldn't be paying the county $25,000,
Right.
but we'd have to find some money and staff to do the investigations. So it's still going to be a cost of the general fund no matter what.
The voucher program, as I know it, provides an administrative fee that provides for,
Very minimal for investigation. looked into it with them. We can discuss this later. It's in the report, so.
Okay. Okay, Rich. Okay, item number 5 is the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority would be more proactive in developing and submitting useful and timely program information concerning the voucher program that enables the reader to assess if the program is functioning properly. The LA County Housing Authority currently submits a very sketchy monthly voucher program overview that includes limited areas of concern and have been reluctant to submit a more complete report on a regular basis. And I should add that appears to be changing with the arrival of Mr. Salas. I'm talking more about our 2-year struggle to obtain regular and timely information on the operation of the voucher program in the City of Lancaster. Okay, next item is the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority would not have to concentrate on remedies concerning significant past operational deficiencies. The LA County Housing Authority has been characterized by HUD as a poor performer for several recent years, and there has been extremely high turnover in the executive ranks. Okay. Next item is the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority would be in a better position to ensure that rental rates paid to participating voucher landlords do not exceed rental rates for similar units in the private marketplace due to familiarity with local rental conditions. Next item is the local City of Lancaster Housing Authority would look closer at examining various options that could lead to a more balanced community. The current CEO of the LA County Housing Authority has indicated that there is nothing that can be done to effectuate a more proportionate number of voucher holders in the City of Lancaster. A local City of Lancaster Housing Authority that included the transfer of 2,200 vouchers from the LA County Housing Authority would have the added benefit of enabling the LA County Housing Authority to concentrate on a smaller voucher program dispersed over a much smaller geographical area, thereby enhancing their management oversight of the program. And finally, a local City of Lancaster Housing Authority is not a first of its kind experiment. There are currently 22 cities with an independent housing authority within Los Angeles County that have chosen to operate the voucher program separate and apart from the LA County Housing Authority for many of the reasons noted above. Okay. Any comments? Any additions or deletions or changes to any of the above?
Tim, I'd have to concur a little bit with what Elizabeth said earlier. I think it's more of the recommendation we would make to the city of forming the city's own housing authority based upon all of these reasons, not the approval of the reasons. And I think I think we should table this until we've all had the ability to review the consultant's report in light of it's all comes down to dollars and cents. I think the LACDC can contest to that as well as the city. So I think what we should do in regards to these issues is, I think it's good so that the public can know that the reasons why we've looked into these issues. But once we receive the consultant's report and we have the ability to see if it's even possible, then we should dive into some of the logistics of these specific things a little bit more. At least that's my opinion.
Okay, so if I'm understanding your suggestion, you would see that we first hear the consultant report, and depending on that outcome, then hear this issue of recommendation for a housing authority for reasons as listed, and perhaps more or less.
Right. I think that the reasons for or against a housing authority are numerous, much more numerous than the 10 or so reasons you've listed. But I think until we see whether logistically the city can even possibly put something together to support the 2,200 voucher recipients in the city of Lancaster, I think that what we need to do is really see if it's feasible. And I suspect, mistake me if I'm wrong, that the consultant report will show us a little bit of the feasibility. I think the reasons why, I think it's very important that we let the citizens know why we would recommend it at all. And that's the reasons you've listed here, and I agree with that. But I think what we should do, because without a local housing authority, I mean, we can only make recommendations to the LACDC, which we've been doing, and these are lots of things that we have asked and continue to ask, but without the ability to have a local housing authority, then these are just more things we should work hand in hand with LACDC on to improve the program. Like one thing that sticks out to me about the local rental rates. Maybe if we don't have our own local housing authority and they are out of whack, maybe we do need to work with LACDC a little more. But so I think if the feasibility of the local housing authority isn't possible, then we need to come back to these reasons in our relationship with Los Angeles County.
I think Steve's correct. This is a tool. The consultant report is another tool. And these are all pieces that we need to put together to make this final decision. The consultant report also could affect several of these different pieces of your report. Who knows? But when we get the consultant report, about 2-3 years, whatever case might be, I think that
Report is extremely important to the city of Lancaster and its success financially. It's an extremely important report, and it has to be thorough, and it has to be very good, because we're going to be making some decisions that will affect this city for a very long time. And to have the report correct and everybody have the facts correct is extremely important, and that's what this consultant is working on. And when we do have the report, this commission, as well as city council, will make recommendations and decisions where in the past we've had a lot of discussion. So it's a very good, it's well worth waiting for, and it's very in-depth.
no argument, but last meeting, the comment was made that it'd be ready in a couple of days. Well, I'm just telling you, that was the comment, that's what we heard. And so we agendized that. And now we've heard the same thing. It's going to be in a couple of days, Friday, whatever you say, or maybe not. But that's a report we need to hear in order to make all this work together. And I think it's vital for this commission to get that report before we go any further with any of this. Although I like this. I think it's good.
Okay. I'm in agreement. We'll go ahead and table this issue until the time period that the consultant report has been heard and digested by this commission then. Bring it back at a later time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd just like to say that at the agenda on January 4th, the last time we met, I was told that we would have the report within a week. We did have a report. We asked for some more information to be put into that report, and I was told as of yesterday that we would have it by Friday.
Okay.
But it's been a while. I mean,
Okay, if there's no further discussion on that, we'll move on to item number 5. This is the tutoring subcommittee concerning strategies to provide additional tutoring assistance at the Trend Neighborhood Impact Home and other locations, and recommendations of the commission to staff. Commissioner Banks, Commissioner Moulton, and Commissioner Sinclair, who's not here, are members of this subcommittee. Brett, do you?
I just got a brief update on the Trend Impact Home. We got some information that they're established the Tuesday evening tutoring now. They're looking for additional tutors. Something to keep in mind is if you get involved in this, you will need to be fingerprinted and they have a specific person that can help you do that, and we can provide that information to anybody that's interested. In addition to that, there's going to be a meeting on February 15th from 5 to 6 at the Trend Community House to discuss the tutoring and scheduling of that, too, for anybody that's interested. Along with the Trend Impact Home, Commissioner Moulton visited on the Grace Chapel and maybe has some report on that also.
I spoke with Pastor Chris Johnson at Grace Chapel, and they are doing tutoring. We weren't aware of that, but they are doing tutoring at the Indian Sage Home. And again, would have to go through, anyone that was interested would need to go through the fingerprinting process and whatnot. Also, we also talked about maybe highlighting some of the volunteers and some of the things that are going on at these homes, maybe through the commission, to make people aware of what is happening and all the great things that are happening at the homes. So we talked a little bit about that, and the subcommittee will talk a little bit more about that and come up with some ideas, and we can present something next month, if that would be all right.
Right. Just for my information, the tutoring you were referring to that's starting Tuesday evening, is that the high school oriented tutoring?
I think it's both.
It's both?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And there was I'll forward the email to you. There was a schedule that started actually today, and will go on every week from then. So they're trying to put a list of tutors together for that.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay. Councilwoman Marcus, I believe you had contact by, I can't recall her name, Michelle?
Marilyn Dalrymple, and I was
Marilyn.
not able to get in touch with her.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'll keep trying.
I talked to Brett briefly before the meeting, and he could provide you the name of Renee Elkins,
Elkins?
who might be a good contact for her.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Lisa, I am curious if Grace has received enough tutors, or how that part of it is going.
They can always use more.
They can
Yeah,
always use more.
can always use more, yeah.
Okay.
They're also starting, working on a sports program, too, that they're going to be working with. So that may be another way that we can help out.
And because this is televised, is there a particular time and place that potential tutors who would be interested in helping might show up?
There probably is, but I don't know what that is, so I'll work on find that out and
okay.
let you know.
Okay.
I didn't think to ask that. I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think what we'll do as a subcommittee is try to put that together for the few homes that we've been involved with, so we can actually read it into the record next meeting.
That'd be
and
great,
it can
yeah.
be provided.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Item number 6 is a review of LACDC's monthly voucher report, and we plan to have a little bit of a dialogue with LACDC concerning the timing and content of future reports and any recommendations of the Commission. I'm not sure if Mr. Salas or Ms. Mann are going to be addressing this topic.
Did you want me to review the actual Antelope Valley activity report, or can you be clear into what the expectation is relative to this, or just a dialogue about the information that's provided?
My read on this commission is that we've been receiving this report on a fairly regular basis, so I believe we're fairly familiar with the content of it. So I think we would rather discuss items concerning the report and perhaps items we'd like to see included in the report, if that sounds like a good starting point.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the report itself, it does give some information, and we do appreciate receiving that information. It does tell us the number of residents being serviced by this program in the city of Lancaster. I know we made a suggestion some time ago, and we can see that LACDC listened to it because it also identifies the number of elderly, disabled, and elderly and disabled, and that's very helpful. When we leave that section of the report and go down below to some of the, I'll call it enforcement issues, I have been troubled for about 2 years, and I feel like I'm not being heard on this issue. If you take the very first item, it says calls received 36. Then there's a breakdown of what I would think would be the 36 calls into categories. Unfortunately, the categories only add up to 28. And so as a reader of this report, I continue to be puzzled by what happened to the other 8. And I believe it's probably a very simple fix to do a full accounting of the 36.
And I did follow up on this particular section with the person that is responsible for this particular program, and herein lies the problem. The calls received are a cumulative number of the total amount, and this report is a snapshot in time. So that's part of the challenge. But the total number at the top gives you the total number of all of the calls received. Part of the issue is sometimes there are multiple calls for the same tenant. It could be multiple neighbors calling on the tenant, or the same person calling repeatedly. They log every single call as a separate and distinct phone call. That's why you're always going to get a higher number than the actual numbers below it. That is the primary reason for that right there. They do not track multiple calls and collapse them as one. They want to track every single fraud hotline call that they get. And the 2 items below are the 2 statuses that are on the system that they track, which ones are referred to for investigation and which ones are simply dismissed. Those are the only 2 statuses that they have. So based on this that you have here, it's safe to say that the extra number of phone calls there were because there were multiple calls about the same unit.
Okay. I'll continue to be confused, because I believe if you receive 3 calls on the same unit and one of those calls is referred for investigation, then I would have to assume the other 2 have been dismissed and could show under the dismiss category.
Or all 3 could be substantiated.
And then they could be counted in the referred for investigation.
But then it gives the impression that there are 3 investigations when there's only really 1.
But I'm getting that view just by the fact that you're starting with 36.
36 only relates to the number of, it's only calls. It's strictly tallying the complete number of calls for the month. The activity and the action that happens as a result of those calls is what follows. So I think it might be more misleading if we did say that we had 40 investigations where in fact there were only 20, but one of them was due to multiple calls. It would give a false impression or sense of the activity of what is going on. I think the 2 bottom columns are really the ones that are core in terms of what activity took place as a result of those telephone calls. And I'm not sure how else to capture it aside from that, but I think if you look at it from that perspective, it might clarify things a bit.
I will be willing to drop this as an issue if the other commissioners have no issue with it.
Totally understand. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Working in a legislative office for all these years, and Larry and Lisa can say the same thing. We get multiple calls sometimes on the a particular case or something that might be going on, and, there may be one investigation or one letter written, but not four for the same thing. So I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And I think if the discrepancy was hundreds, I think I would have a bigger concern too. So, but given that there's 36 for the entire year, and 28 of them were investigated or dismissed, then I mean, but somebody could have made one of these calls. I think Ms. Mann said this in the past, that a call could be made for a house that's not even in the voucher program, and that's logged as well. I think you might have.
Yes, we log every single call regardless of whether or not it's our case or not.
So the 8 missing could have been multiple calls or something that's not even under your jurisdiction, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Would it be possible just to educate us about the participants, whether it's single-family residents, apartments, condominiums? Is that tracked and readily available, or would that be something that would be too difficult to track?
Are you speaking of relative to this report, if that can be further broken down into
Correct.
types of homes? They don't currently track that. I mean, they just track the household. They don't track the unit type.
Okay.
We track unit types in a separate database that really involves all of our HCV program, but not relative to the fraud unit.
Now, would it be possible to, just in regards to the housing contracts, to include a field related to whether it's single-family residents, condominiums, or apartments? Would it be possible to include that using the database software, or?
Well, anything is possible. Okay. The question really becomes is how
many man-hours?
How many resources, are you going to need to include something like that? It's not something that's typically tracked, and I can tell you that all the information that exists from the point that we're looking at now down the rest of the page is not something that is captured by our housing software. Our housing software has nothing to do with any fraud or investigations or hotline calls. We track that by a database that was created internally.
Okay.
And then that database pulls information from our housing system. So all of that has to be customized. The information that you're asking for is not currently tracked at all, so that would have to be an entirely new field.
Okay.
And something new that the investigators would need to note in their reports.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was the basis to my question, whether or not it was tracked. Because if it's not, obviously, it's going to take endless man-hours to start to audit the 2,200 or, just in Lancaster alone. So.
Correct.
What about the data on the rental values? Is that, I mean, I would imagine that's readily tracked, right? Is there a way we can get a matrix or something that shows what, where, an idea of where how much the landlord's getting paid?
We do, and we did submit something to the City of Lancaster relative to the contract rents by bedroom size. They've made that request in the past, and we have provided that information to the city. And the mayor's office has that information. I think the last report was submitted in either August or September.
Did we receive that? I don't recall. We might have.
Yes, we did. And I believe when we made that request, we were asking for that on a regular basis, not as a one-time only provision of information.
In reference to the breakdown?
That and several other matters.
Are you talking about the breakdown for bedroom size or the breakdown of every single voucher?
Oh, no. This was just
The breakdown of the
breakdown
bedrooms?
by bedroom size.
Okay.
In comparison to HUD's fair market rent.
That is correct. We
Right.
listed the fair market rent and then what we're actually paying
Right.
By bedroom size.
My apologies. I must not have seen the report, so that's all I have.
Okay. On the existing report, I do want to go to the last item on there. It's under Assisted Housing Division investigations. It shows on that current report that there are 110 that have been opened. None have been referred to the fraud unit, and no proposed terminations have been issued.
These are very, very distinct from the fraud hotline calls. What these normally refer to are cases where the case managers themselves, those who are completing the reexamination, are finding, for example, there might be a zero-income family.
Right.
that automatically gets referred for further investigation to substantiate whether or not there is really any debts against, on their credit reports. So there are certain protocols that they follow to ensure that there is no fraud occurring. But those are triggers that are done administratively. They're not triggered by any outside call or any reports. They're just done as a matter of protocol to make sure that there aren't any fraudulent activities. Or sometimes the family is counseled. So all of these have to do with things such as that are automatic triggers for them to refer to an administrative person who then reviews that. And if, in fact, there is something there, it may then get referred to the fraud unit for follow-up.
I see. Okay. So the fact that it shows 0 and 0 should not be a cause of concern?
That is correct.
Commission.
That is correct. It's basically a proactive measure that we're trying to see if we can detect any possible fraud based on certain triggers.
Okay. A couple other items. I know at least 2 years in a row, and I believe 3 years in a row, LACDC did have difficulty completing recertifications on time, and we want to make sure that that's not a standing issue, and it'd be very, very helpful if you provided within, I believe, this report, your status concerning recertifications, so that you're telling us before we read about it in the newspaper that you're up to date and on time?
That is actually a very, very simple request, and that is something that we absolutely capture because it's a requirement, a reporting requirement to HUD. So we do capture that information now. We don't capture it specific to geographic locations. We capture it as a whole. But you can rest assured, if you have a program that says it's 99% complete, you can safely assume that they're current in your area as well. But we can provide that information.
That'd be very helpful.
On recertifications and or reexaminations, and I would assume you may be interested also in inspections.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I see that'd be very helpful on a monthly basis. Some of the other requests, it might be good, not monthly, because I do understand workload issues, but perhaps quarterly, perhaps even semi-annually, if some of the issues concerning the number of participants residing in single-family homes in the city of Lancaster, condominiums or apartments could also be conveyed to the board so that we get some idea of the mixture of participants in the voucher program and their domiciles.
That one I know would be certainly customized. I know that we wouldn't capture that because it's not a standard report that we would have. That would be something that we would need to customize, and I can certainly come back to the commission and let you know what that would entail.
Okay.
In reference to excluding all of the other geographical areas and only including this one.
That's fair. And again, I don't see this as a monthly need, but I'll call it a periodic need. The number of participants residing in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedroom plus units in the city of Lancaster. Okay. And then we'd also be concerned, again, on a periodic basis with the landlords who are participating in the voucher program, their geographic location. And an idea on that would be if you have 2,200 Lancaster residents in the city of Lancaster participating in the voucher program, are those owners of those units located within the city of Lancaster, within the county of Los Angeles, within the state of California, or in other states of the United States? So, for instance, we get some idea as to absentee landlord participation versus resident landlord participation.
Does the city not capture that through its business license requirement for landlords who have rental properties?
Yes, we do.
Do we segregate whether they're Section 8 or non-Section 8 for the landlord business license?
We can. When we receive the list from Section 8, we can drop it into our GIS and we can get a lot of information. We can't get the bedroom size, but we can get the addresses. We've also got a printout, and we've been able to determine the percentage of those that are local versus non-local. It takes work, but we do it every once in a while to do an analysis of where we're at with regards to all rentals. We are not very interested in just segregating out the Section 8 versus non-Section 8. So we look at all the rentals, and I believe there's over 14,000. So we periodically do that. We periodically just drop the map in to see what the relationship is with the other rentals that we have. So we
Okay.
can supply some of that.
If
Just email me.
that's the case, we'll withdraw that request from LACDC. We could always look to the city to provide that.
But there still is an opportunity for bedroom size and that kind of data? Is that the case?
That is something, we have that information on a countywide perspective. Again, that is something that we could break down, but to break it down specific to a geographic location, you would need to customize that.
Okay.
And that's what I would need to come back and see what kind of resources would be required to do that.
I think one of the things the commission is trying to do is to either verify or debunk an idea, a thought out there that a lot of these participants are in 5-bedroom homes and swimming pools and those kind of things. And that's part of the data that we're trying to gather to really show what the current situation is. So that's part of the reason behind some of these requests.
Yeah, kind of an adjunct to that, there was a belief system about the participants in the voucher program. And we asked a number of times that LACDC provide us an elderly and disabled breakdown. And once that was done, we discovered that there was 50% of the participants were elderly and disabled, and that was not a known fact. There were just guesswork going on about the participation in the program, and I think that has an effect on the community to know information that might not be well known, but actually is very beneficial to segments of the population within the city of Lancaster.
If I understand the request correctly, you are requesting a breakdown of how many households live, a breakdown by bedroom size. How many are in each particular bedroom size?
Okay, and then I guess the thing we probably should also offer is you the opportunity. Do you see any other information needs within your own agency that are regularly available that would help us understand the full picture of the voucher program? Are there other information needs we haven't identified that you do have available that if we knew about, we'd like to see those too?
I can't right off the top of my head, but it's certainly something that I could think about to see if there's any useful information that could be of value to you
Yeah. Okay.
and the city.
Do you think 30 days is sufficient to take a look at this issue and come back to us and let us know what a time frame for that would be?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look and see, based on these requests here, how many of them are readily available, and certainly things like the CMAP report, information on inspections and re-exams. is going to be something that we could readily provide. Some of the other requests that would need customization, I would need to determine what the amount of resources would be,
Okay.
and then come back to the city and say, this is the resources that would be required for a customized report of that nature.
Okay, and also, I'd like you to also take with you the idea that if the particular item we're asking for is available in a different fashion that would serve the same purpose and doesn't require a great deal of resources to produce, make those suggestions to us also.
Okay.
And then in our conversation that we had about a week ago, I know you would prefer making this report available directly to the city of Lancaster so that you're not having to prepare one report for the city of Lancaster and another report for the commission here.
That is correct, because we provide actually quite a bit of information directly to the city.
Yeah.
And it would be great if we had one point of contact where everything could be funneled and then disseminated to various parties.
Okay, and I agree with that concept. I don't think we should be creating two separate reporting processes. And Lee has been pretty good about keeping us informed on the monthly report that is currently provided to the city of Lancaster. Okay. Any other comments?
I just wanted to repeat again that the reason behind this is to try to dispel some perceptions that are out there and to get real facts out is kind of an educational situation. So the more information that you can provide us or direct us to, I think the better off that we'll be able to get the information out to our community.
Sure, certainly, I can appreciate that.
I had one other question, as long as we have them here. When you were reading off the bullet points earlier, you mentioned that May 2010, LA County Housing Authority stopped absorbing port-in tenants. Can you help us with that? How does that decision get made, and is it an arbitrary thing that the housing authorities have the ability to do that?
Housing authorities have the ability to choose whether or not to absorb persons coming from other housing authorities or to bill that out.
Okay.
And a decision was made by the executive director at the time to stop absorbing individuals, and that was made in conjunction also with the closure of the waiting list.
Okay.
And there are trends that happen. That we did see a wave of folks actually starting to port in, and there is, and Commissioner Sturdivant is probably very familiar with this process. It is a very labor-intensive process to actually bill for portable vouchers. The simplest thing to do is to simply absorb them into your program. But by actually going the portability route of billing, you then have to create a whole separate unit to actually both pay and receive payments for portable vouchers. So the decision was made. The housing authority has that discretion to either absorb or to bill. And so a conscious decision was made to begin billing other housing authorities for all of the incoming ports as a means of making sure that we service those that are on our waiting list.
But that doesn't prevent people from porting in. It's just how it's managed, right?
That's correct. They can still port in, but it doesn't count against your allocation.
Understood. Okay.
So you're basically billing that to the other housing authority where they came from. It doesn't stop them from moving, but you still then have your vouchers available for persons on your waiting list.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If you were to decide to absorb again in the future, is that an item that goes before your board for approval, or is that an internal decision staff of the housing authority would make?
I believe we'd have to make a change to our administrative plan, which then goes to the board for approval.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Salas, and it's something that's come up recently in the community through newspaper articles about Section 8 recipients in the Lancaster area, or in the Antelope Valley, actually. It has to do with the term, the length of time that they are recipients of this assistance. And I think what's happened is we're getting questions from the public and even letters written to the newspaper questioning the fact that someone has been on Section 8 assistance for 14, 16 years, and there's been no help or no assistance for them to get off of it or to find an alternative way to live. Can you address, I mean, is there a system in place to assist people in actually removing them from this after a period of time by helping them with employment or these types of things, or is that a common problem?
It is a problem many housing authorities face, but there are options that we can offer participants, and the greatest one being the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. Mm-hmm. This is basically a contract that is entered into with the tenant that, as you're aware, the rents are tied to their income. And under this particular program, it's normally a 5-year contract where you lay out a plan to either go through job training or an education with the ultimate goal of moving off of public assistance and either buying a home or on the private market renting their own home. And what happens under that program is you incentivize the tenant by creating an escrow account. So as their wages increase or if they're able to get a job, we would normally then recalculate the rent and their rent portion would increase. That amount is put into an escrow account, a savings account that they would be able to receive once they graduate from the program, so that they could have a lump sum to then either have a down payment on a home, buy a vehicle in order to get to a job, those kinds of things. So HUD does provide some funding for the FSS program, and because of our performance on CMAP last year, we were eligible for funding for an FSS coordinator. We do have quite a few families that participate, but it is voluntary.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. It is a voluntary participation.
Yes, we do market it, and we certainly try to let folks know that it's there, and it's there for that purpose, but you can't force anyone to participate.
What's the percentage of folks that participate in that program over, maybe in LA County, over the overall amount of people? And of course, that's difficult because I know a lot of the folks are disabled or elderly.
Correct.
And may not fall under the category of being able to do that. But as we heard here this evening and have heard in the past, 50% or so of the folks that are on that type of assistance in the city of Lancaster are not elderly and not disabled. So my question, I guess, would be of that part, is the participation high? Is it low? What's your view on that?
You know, I don't have the figures off the top of my head. I'm not sure if you do, Tracy. Is it 300 or 400? 400 county-wide of all of the...
I'm sorry, what?
It's about 400 individual families that participate in that program.
That's all? County-wide?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And that's because it's voluntary,
It is
right?
voluntary. That is correct. We market it. We send out information regarding the program in our notes, in our mailers to participants and people that are incoming to the program. We also give them more orientation regarding that program.
Yeah.
But yes, it is completely voluntary.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the information. I was looking to get some answers to that, and that's very interesting.
There is a much larger emphasis on the public housing side, since we are the landlord. The housing authority is the landlord, and has a little bit more say-so in reference to what goes on in our particular housing community. So those programs are much more marketed in those facilities, and funding is much more readily available from HUD for public housing.
Maybe what's needed is some sort of encouragement for folks to volunteer, to get into that program, to be more self-sufficient. I don't know if there's a way to do that, kind of like a recruiter or something, but...
Sure. We do have folks that they do this full-time. They go out and they manage the households on the program, and they're on the phone banking, touting the merits of the program.
And yet it's still just a couple of hundred out of the... Wow. Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
After listening to that discussion, I guess I'd like to see that information also provided to us on a periodic basis to see if the numbers are increasing, staying the same, or declining. Any other comments, questions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I did.
Oh.
I had a couple of questions. I'm sorry that I was here late and I didn't get to understand exactly who you are, but you the LACDC Acting Assistant Executive Director?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for coming. I know Tracy's usually here, and I appreciate you coming in. We're quite an inquisitive group. There was an article. There was an article that was put out by City Journal, and Howard Husick of Lancaster Public Housing Revolution, and it talks about a Renee Glover that's in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's leading the Atlanta Housing Authority. And I had given this article to the commissioners a while back, so it might seem familiar to you, and I'd be glad to give you the article too. But she's describing that what she has done is that not only does she run the program, but she has set out to transform the dysfunctional behavior that condemns people to languish for years in public housing, is one of the quotes from the article. And what she did was she enforced a HUD-granted program called Moving to Work, and imposed a unique requirement on both the voucher recipients and the tenants of the new mixed-income complexes. As of 2004, they had to work. Is there anything like that being used in L.A. County at all?
Moving to work is a designation that is given by HUD to specific housing authorities. In order to qualify, first you have to be rated as a high performer, and that is what we're striving for. Okay. We have, someone mentioned about the trouble status of the HC Housing Choice Voucher Program. That designation, I believe, was received in 2006 or 2007. They moved out of trouble status the following year, and we are working towards obtaining a CMAP score so that we can be designated as high performers. That's just the first step. There are a limited number of designations that HUD provides for a moving to work housing authority or site. It provides you some flexibilities in creating incentives for residents, as well as some administrative relief in not having to conduct certain functions annually, but maybe biannually. So it's kind of a reward system for high-performing housing authorities. But not all high performers get that designation. It's just the first requirement.
Right, I understand that there's very few.
Yes.
Actually, there are hundreds of programs, but very few that are under this designation.
That's correct.
One of the other things that she's also considering doing is sunset rule for her tenants. Is there any talk of any kind of a sunset rule?
I believe that it's only possible to do things of that nature under the moving to work designation. I don't believe that housing authorities have that flexibility who are not designated as a moving to work site.
Another thing that's in this article is, I guess there's a program, Integral Youth and Family Project. Are you familiar with that?
I have not heard of that.
They actually have, it describes it like it's a Peace Corps. It's the family support coordinators that actually go in, and I guess these are volunteers that work with the program.
Oh, and yes, and we've utilized actually AmeriCorps volunteers who've actually lived on our public housing sites to provide services to the youth in public housing sites, to provide after-school programs, tutoring, mentoring, those kinds of things. So we've certainly made use of any outside organizations that are willing to provide resources.
Well, maybe that's something that we need. I'd like to know, are there any organizations that are actually helping these people, to find work, the incentives to get off the program, those type of things?
You will find that the bulk of those programs, and I believe also in that article, are on the public housing side. And we certainly have a lot of resident services on the public housing side that promote self-sufficiency, that promote training programs. We've had a number of training programs on site with the intent of eventually having them hired on by the agency and transitioning out to outside employment. So we've had a lot of those success stories, primarily on the public housing side. Right. We have had some Section 8 participants, but it's limited. Because they're scattered throughout, it's very, very difficult, much more difficult than having one housing community where you have all the services right there on site.
Well, I think what we're really deficit in is the incentives to get off of the housing voucher program. And that's what I'd like to hear more. If there are programs out there, if they're active. I know that quite often we have people that come to the meetings, and they're thinking that what we want to do is completely get rid of Section 8. Well, we don't want to get rid of Section 8. It serves a purpose. But we do want to see people actually involved in these programs and trying to help people get off and become independent. And I'd like to hear more about that. What other programs are out there and what other organizations are really trying to help people. And I'll be glad to give you a copy of the article. It's really a great article. Are you familiar with Renee Glover?
I am.
Are you?
I am, yes, I've met her.
She sounds like quite the...
She's very dynamic.
Yes, she is. Okay, thank you so much.
Kind of an add-on to that is I think the benefit to the community is that with 5,000 Lancaster residents on the waiting list, successful programs such as Sherry's talking about enable those residents to also receive the benefits of the voucher program in a much more timely manner, because I understand there's quite a lengthy time for the average resident on LACDC's waiting list to actually receive assistance. So programs that help existing tenants move on to self-sufficiency are certainly good for the residents who are currently on the waiting list.
And I can certainly provide examples of the programs that we've implemented even recently to give you an idea of the kinds of activities that are going on in LA County. Okay.
Aside from LA County, are there outside organizations that also work in concert with LA County providing some of these services?
Absolutely. A lot of nonprofits. We partner up with a lot of nonprofits, community-based organizations to try to provide in-kind services at our sites.
Would it be possible maybe to get a list of those that maybe we up here could encourage some participation if it isn't already up here?
I can certainly check with our resident services person to see what information we can provide you.
Actually, from the amount of interest shown in this matter, I know we've asked you to bring us back something in 30 days. Could we kind of look forward either 60 or 90 days out with perhaps a presentation about the various programs that are available, who in this community might be contacted to participate in some of those efforts?
Sure.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you for the 60 to 90 days, otherwise I'm quite busy.
And if it's 120 days, I fully understand.
I mean, it's not going to be a problem actually conducting a presentation of programs that are already in existence. I can tell you that the bulk of those programs are at our large public housing sites, which are in North Long Beach, East Los Angeles, the South Bay. But it'd be good for you to know what programs we offer. And there may be also some programs on this end. On the public housing side, we only have one in this particular area, that's Quartz Hill. But certainly we can give you an idea of what activities go on.
Okay, that'd be great.
I just wanted to make one more comment. In part of the reason that we're asking a lot of these questions, we seem to have a larger number or a larger percentage of Section 8 than other parts of the county. But one of the things that is difficult are the infrastructure to help support those folks. There's less of out here. I mean, public transportation is spread out and not as probably thorough as it is down below. And the same with medical facilities and health care and job training. Those things are more sparse up here, yet we have a larger number of these folks. So we're trying to find different ways that we can help support these people in addition to our local residents. So that's kind of the reasoning behind some of the questions you're hearing.
Well, on behalf of the Commission, we definitely appreciate a very good dialogue that we've had with you today and look forward to more in the future. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, last item on the agenda, and I know everybody's come prepared with this, is a brief discussion of next month's possible agenda topics.
I'd like to see the consultant report. If possible.
Okay, I believe you have the support of this commission on that issue. I did get contacted by, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Jack Van Bohemen. He was one of the actual award winners of the City Unite program, working with Helping Hands Ministry out of Desert Vineyard. He'd like to come to us at our next meeting and do a presentation about what his group's efforts involve, and he'll be looking at this from a standpoint that I am very eager to hear about. His group wants to help residents who could otherwise not afford certain repairs, certain cleanup of areas, and he has apparently 80 volunteers, and will be talking to us about the criteria. And I think this is something be very interesting to hear about. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule him for the next meeting.
I know Jack, and I know that program, and you guys will be pleasantly surprised about what he's doing.
Any other items we should consider with the possibility out there that a certain consultant report may or may not be ready at the next meeting?
Well, I think we can, Larry and Lisa and I will get together as a subcommittee and talk about state legislation issues and so forth that we had to put off a little bit due to Larry's injury, and we'll make an effort to do that so that we can give you maybe a preliminary report at the next meeting.
Okay, that'd be great.
And there'll be a standing item on the tutoring subcommittee that you can keep going, please.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and suspend the meeting of the subcommittee on the voucher program until the report is actually heard then. Okay. And we'll look forward to LA County coming back with an outline of information that we can start receiving regular and on a periodic basis. Okay. Last item is public business from the floor. We request any person who would like to address the Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission on non-agendized matters to complete a speaker card, and you will find speaker cards on the back table of the council chambers. Additionally, we respectfully request that you fill the cards out completely and print as clearly as possible so that, if necessary, the commission or city staff will be able to contact you either by phone or mail. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. When you approach the podium, please notice there are 3 lights. The green light comes on when you begin, the yellow light will come on when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red light will come on when your 3 minutes are up. We ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. Following this procedure will allow for a smooth and timely process for the commission meeting, and we appreciate your cooperation. State law prohibits the Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to staff. Brenda, do we have any speakers, or Elizabeth?
We have Emil Holmes.
Okay.
How's everybody doing today?
Welcome.
Thank you for having me speak. And I see everybody. I appreciate all the good work that's going on here in Lancaster. And it's like a lot of questions being asked. I'm also concerned about things being in place. Well, my name is Emil Holmes again. I started a nonprofit corporation, step by step, which I'm in the hole right now and I owe taxes, but my ideas are still good. Right now, for the last 3 years, I've been wanting to buy this church right around the corner, the Agape Church. They trying to sell the church to build a newer church. The spot is a perfect location for a youth center, for the tutoring that could tie in with everything you guys are doing right here. It could be a central location. It could be a way for people to get training, like, okay, there's a lot of guys that they're on 3 strikes and then they thrown in jail. Okay, I got a program I've been working on called Reentry to Life. Before you throw them in jail, throw them out there in Lancaster, make them plant some gardens and things like that and build. In the meantime, the youngsters who fell in the cracks that didn't understand about college, who had the gangbang and things like that, they can come down to the center and they can learn how to read and write until they can train, and then they'll be they off the program. There I go. I got all the answers. I've been having all the answers. I just don't have no help. And I'm all out of my own personal money. And it's like I'm a single parent. I got a program I got for a single parent, single male parent. It happened to me, and it was nothing set in place. Nothing, nothing for a single man. That, you know, I had a little help because I'm retired from the military. So that's the only help, but that's it. And so it's been a struggle. So everything in this bag, and I got a lot of paperwork. I got all the information, demographic that change every day. Demographics. The people come to the area, nothing to do. You know, the whole place look good. You know, everybody who's in the area. Somebody asked a question about how many people that's in the area that's getting money from the voucher program. Probably none. But there's a few. There go my time, 29 seconds.
You still have 30 seconds.
Okay. I would like to put that on the agenda for next month to continue to bring all, because I wasn't totally prepared today for put some things on the screen and talk to this gentleman right here. I have a lot of answers. That's all self-contained. I mean, everything can fix everything. I know how to fix it.
Oh, okay. We're going to make the suggestion that you contact Lee DeRico. It's D', help me here, R-I-C-O,
Okay.
at the City of Lancaster.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I was thinking that maybe he should speak to Conception Harris at Central Christian, because I think that's what they're trying to do is fill in the blanks for these areas. And I think that's where we as a commission need to continue to put people in the right direction.
Oh, okay.
And it's the faith-based, organizations that we'd like to have you maybe talk to. Conception Harris is from Central Christian, and she's running a lot of the efforts that are going into the wellness homes and those areas. So we can get her, if you'll leave your contact information with Brenda, we can get a message to Ms. Harris.
I appreciate it very much.
All right.
Yeah, I would like to be right here. I mean, you should see the ideas I have. I'll make your job easy. You can give them something right now, in place. Yes, sir. So I'll be talking. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments of the commission, I'm going to adjourn this meeting.